Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, if you do enjoy the video that you came here to watch, do me a favor, go ahead and hit that little red subscribe button at the bottom of the screen. It really does help my audience grow. It really does help this channel grow. It means more than you realize. So go ahead, hit that little red button. Also, remember, full episodes of the Aaron Torres Podcast, wherever you download your podcast, Apple, Spotify, etc. Now, here is the video that you came here for. All right, really quickly, I do want to look at things from the LSU perspective. And yeah, we went a little heavy on Bama to start things off. But look, Bama right now is at a very fascinating crossroads. But I would also be remiss if I didn't talk a little bit about LSU. Now, we talked a ton about them after the Ole Miss game. So some of this, I need to contextualize what Brian Kelly, because what he is doing right now is so freaking incredible that I cannot believe it. As LSU, not only are they 7-2, but they're 7-2. They control their own destiny in the SEC West. And right now, they are probably going to play Georgia in the SEC championship game. Don't know if they're going to get there. Don't know what will happen once they get there. But this is an incredible season. And as a guy who always liked Brian Kelly, let me tell you this. This thing is so far ahead of schedule. This is one of the best coaching jobs that I've ever seen, and I'm just blown away by it. First of all, you look at this whole situation at LSU. I think it's easy to say whether you thought Brian Kelly was the guy, whether you didn't. The bottom line is he inherited a mess at LSU. And I know it's LSU. They always recruit well and all that. I get all that. What I would also say is the LSU at the end of 2021, it wasn't the LSU. It wasn't your older brother's LSU. It wasn't your granddaddy's LSU. It wasn't Joe Burrow's LSU. It was a mess. I've talked about it before, but we have to reiterate this. The last time we saw LSU prior to this season was in a bowl game against Kansas State in early January last year. In that game, LSU had 39 scholarship players on the field. 39 scholarship players because of injuries, because of transfers, because of NFL draft, because of whatever. 39 scholarship players. They were playing a wide receiver at quarterback. That was the program that Brian Kelly inherited, and that was the mess that he inherited. And I don't know how he has done it so quick. Taken in 20 plus transfers. He's got 2 starting offensive linemen that are true freshmen. Transfer quarterback from Arizona State that got benched last year. So they are, listen, I think most of us thought realistically LSU could get back to a certain level, get back to potentially winning the SEC West, get back to competing for national championships, where I don't think they are. None of us thought it would be this year, not with what he inherited. Because of it, it is, I have to say, maybe the single most impressive coaching jobs in a season that I have ever seen. Now, we've seen great program building. Mark Stoops comes to mind. We've seen great turnarounds from one season to the next. But in season, are you kidding me? Do you remember what this team looked like against Florida State in week 1 on Labor Day weekend? Penalties, mistakes. They couldn't run the ball. Jaden Daniels was basically their entire offense, and he couldn't throw it. Missed tackles after the game. Missed field goals, by the way, that cost him a game. Missed extra points. After the game, you have players deleting stuff off social media. That is the same group of guys that we saw on Saturday night. And you look at the improvement. You look at how much crisper the offense runs. You look at the lack of mistakes, the tackling. I've never seen anything like this. As far as other thoughts, other reactions to this one, a couple things do stand out. One, did you see Brian Kelly's post-game speech? That stuff sent chills down your spine if you ever played college or ever played football or sports at any level. What I would just tell you, find the 5 minutes to go watch it, because he basically looks his guys in the eyes and says, look, that's a great team over there. We went for 2 because I didn't want to leave any doubt. I didn't want to leave any doubt in you guys believing in me. I wanted you to know that I believed in you. And there aren't any other group of guys that I go to war with. And I didn't want to walk in this locker room and say that we left it out on the field, that we had a chance and we didn't win. So congrats to Brian Kelly. Congrats to this team. And as I close out this segment, again, we've talked a lot about LSU. This is incredible. And we understand a couple things. As great as this is, they still have to take care of business at Arkansas, at A&M to win the West. And on top of that, this is still a team that is probably, as we're going to talk about with Georgia in a minute, 2 or 3 recruiting classes from really playing at the highest levels of this sport. At the same time, 2 things come to mind as I wrap up this segment and I think about last night. One, I am so glad Brian Kelly had the you-know-what to come to LSU, because as I've said many times, I have been a supporter of Brian Kelly. I have said that I don't believe that in the modern era of college football, anybody should be winning at the level that Brian Kelly did, where basically the only losses that they ever had were to Alabama, Clemson, who ironically Notre Dame beat on Saturday night, and playoff teams at Georgia, at Michigan. I mean, you talk about the losses that this guy had at a small Catholic school in Indiana, no natural recruiting base, academic standards, nobody should be this good. But if he didn't have the guts to bet on himself, if he didn't have the guts to say, you know what, I believe I can win at the highest level, we wouldn't have known that. And imagine this guy retiring as, and this is where he was headed. He was going to retire as the greatest coach in Notre Dame football history, but the guy that everybody else in college football saw as the dude that couldn't win the big one. Well, turns out he could win the big one. He just needed the dudes, and he needed a full deck. He needed a full deck, or he needed the point I'm trying to make is that he was playing with one arm behind his leg when he's at Notre Dame, one arm behind his back. And so to see him on an equal playing field with Nick Saban, with Kirby Smart, with all these guys having all the same resources, all the same facilities, access to the same players, I think it's going to be interesting to watch over the next 3, 4, 5 years. And finally, what I would say is I think Saturday night showed why Brian Kelly so desperately wanted this LSU job, why so many people in the media say this is one of the 2, 3, 4 best jobs in the country. 100,000 people in Baton Rouge, crazy environment, crazy fan base, in a good way, by the way. And again, they're doing this all right now with a patchwork roster, transfer quarterback, young offensive line, without their best defensive lineman, Mason Smith. It is unbelievable, and it's scary for me to think, what could this program look like in another year or two? What could this program look like with 2 more years of the structure and what Brian Kelly brings, and a little bit more depth, a little bit more talent? It's scary to think. And so for those of you who thought Brian Kelly was a bad fit, for those of you who thought he'd never make it, for those of you who have made fun of him because of his accent, who's laughing now? Everybody's part of that family. I don't even know how he said it, but everybody's part of that family. Incredible. I'm actually happy for the guy. Don't know him, never met him, but I thought this guy took way too much crap for way too much long. He had his moment on Saturday night. Congratulations to him.